Okay, would you all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pursuant to Section 5, Chapter 231, Public Laws of 1975, this is to state for the record that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the public by posting and maintaining the annual notice of the regular meetings on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and by providing a copy of the annual notice of the regular meetings for the year 2016 to the Glen Ridge paper, the Glen Ridge Voice, the Montclair Times, and to the Star Ledger on Tuesday, January 5th, 2016, and by filing said notice in the office of the municipal clerk. Michael, would you please call the roll?
Councilperson Hughes.
Present.
Lesovich.
Here.
Lefkowitz.
Here.
Dawson.
Here.
Murphy.
Here.
Morrow.
Here.
Mayor Patch is present. Mr. Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Michael. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of the July 11th meeting? Thank you, Peter.
I'll second that.
Thank you, David. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, would you please call the roll?
Councilperson Hughes. Aye. Lesovich.
Aye.
Lefkowitz.
Aye.
Dawson.
Aye.
Murphy.
Abstain.
Morrow.
Aye.
5 ayes, 1 abstention. Motion is carried.
Thank you. Are there any written communications?
Yes, there is. Let me get this turn off the air conditioner. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Okay, the first correspondence is ordinance that the Board of Chosen Freeholders, County of Essex County. This is an ordinance naming the rubberized track in Essex County, Washington Park, as the Essex County Forest Ashenfelter Track in honor of the 1952 gold medalist Forest Ashenfelter III. This was introduced by the freeholders. The public hearing and final vote will be taking this Wednesday. Received a letter from Robert Altano requesting curbing at the southeast corner of Mayolis and Midland Avenue. Received from Sun a exposure prevention program at Boston Community Capital, an advisory for our residents that may be in need. And then also we got a post of tariff notices from the Public Service Gas and Electric Company. And finally, correspondence we received today with the Township of Montclair, an adopted ordinance adopting a redevelopment plan for the HMUC, Mount-Side Hospital Redevelopment Plan area dated July 12th. And that concludes correspondence.
Please file with correspondence.
I have a question about the Ashenfelter resolution. Should we have a group go down to that thing?
Well, it's definitely the dedication.
There'll be a group going down. I'll organize something.
All right.
Yeah. You'll be well aware.
All right.
It's going to happen late September.
Oh, but not, we don't, should we go to the hearing?
No, I don't think it's necessary, but it's going to happen.
All right.
Okay, this is the first opportunity to have comments from the public. Would anybody like to be heard?
My name is Lenore Proto. I live at 92 Glen Ridge Avenue. What else do I have to tell you? Anything else? Sorry. I'm here because everybody knows that we live adjacent to the mall, and everybody knows we do have problems with that. But this problem is like a problem I wouldn't even conceive in a ghetto getting what we had to go through. And I don't think that the town is fair, and I don't think that the mall is fair. There should be more regulations on this. This happened on the 3rd of August. About 10 o'clock, we were in our TV room looking at television, and it was a little cooler, so I opened the window a little because I like to air the house out when it's cool. And I heard this drilling, and I looked out, and I saw big smoke on the side of the mall, not by our house, but by the apartment house, the condos. All this smoke was out and everything. And I thought it was like a fire, or I thought it was an emergency that, a pipe busted or something, that they came and done something. And if they do something at that time of the evening and there's an emergency, well, then you have to live with it. So the noise wasn't going away. And, let's see. And then all of a sudden, I looked on the side where the apartment's out, and they have these bright lights. The bright lights were all over the lawn, even in our house. We could have had a party in our backyard. The lights were, and also in the yard next door to me. The gentleman couldn't come today because he had another appointment. So it made it look like it was daylight. And then all I kept seeing is the smoke and the drilling and the noise, and it's really loud. So I waited. I didn't call the police right away because I thought it was, an emergency. Like if something happens, you're not going to say, "We'll wait till the morning." So then I did call the police around 11 o'clock, and I told them that the noise was getting louder. 11:15. Told them that it was getting louder, and if they could do anything about it. So he said, "Sure, I'll call and I'll call you back." I have nothing against the policemen because it started in Montclair, and I know that they can't touch anything with Montclair. So I called him once, and then 15 minutes later I called again, and I said, "Did you hear yet?" And he said, "No." I called again, he says, "No, I'm waiting for Montclair to call." So Montclair never called us. So, I put little notes so I can remember things. I already said all that. Oh, so when we never received a call from Montclair, when this actually got to our backyard, and where I could see it with our backyard was all lit, and to next door, I called the policeman up again, and I says, "Now it's in Montclair, it's in Glen Ridge, so would you please go have somebody there?" So he sent somebody there, and I really didn't know what the problem was. So when the next day, I called the police department and I asked them for a copy of the what do you call these, whatever, complaint, right? And the complaint says, "Received a call from Mrs. Proto, 9 Van Gamma Jeremy, stated loud noise from construction equipment in rear of Smashburger. The officer made contact with Mr. Landando, who was working on repaving the parking lot." That's what they were doing. And they did it they didn't stop till 12:30 at night. We could not sleep. That's how loud it was. 12:30 at night, they're repaving a sidewalk. I mean, that's ridiculous. Really ridiculous. And then they said that Mr. Regando, so I can't say it, was advised to agree suspending the work for the evening and come back when it was a more suitable time to finish. Why would he start a job at that time doing that? Would you like to hear that in the middle of the night? It was awful. It was awful, really awful. And I know that Montclair is a little different than Glen Ridge, but you know what? I know people who said that they will not let a landscaper go and do their lawn on Sundays. They don't want any of the noise on Sunday. I don't know if it's just for businesses or for what. But on a Sunday, they don't want noise from a lawnmower, and they can take a noise in the middle of the night. That doesn't make sense to me. So I'm just assuming this is a joke. Don't get mad at me. I'm assuming that both towns don't need any money to give them a summons, because if they did, they would get a summons instead of always getting it talked about and said they do the same thing when they go to Smashburger. Well, they won't do it again. But if they give them a summons, or if there's something in the contract of the whole building, if you have a lease, if you can have a dog, then you can have a dog. So if you're not allowed to make noise, it all should be in the lease. Because they all say, "Oh, well, it's a new driver, it's a new this," so the same things never change. But if it's in paper, when they sign their lease for what they're renting, maybe they would be a little more efficient about it. And that's it. That's all I have to say. But I like to know what could be done about this. I made copies for you guys for this report. You could have them.
I could check on the particulars of the incident, but from what it sounds, it was in Montclair. It's governed by.
It was in Montclair, but it came all the way to Glen Ridge. It went right there.
I would have to.
It came right by our house. We have our house in Hayers and the other house.
Yeah,
it was his backyard too.
Yeah,
And
part of the
that's
problem with
not
Smashburger is the east side is Montclair, the middle is Glen Ridge, and the west side is Montclair again. So it's like just a sliver in between. That's actually. Let me see.
Because we had a relative that lived in that other house, and they sold that backyard, that's why that's
Yeah,
working.
I think the problem for a police officer, and Lieutenant, correct me if I'm wrong, the light was emanating from Montclair going into Glenridge, so the actual offense occurred in Montclair. So this is one of the things that I'll talk, we have a staff meeting tomorrow. I'll talk to Chief Byron about how they could coordinate with the Montclair Police Department.
I mean, like, well, I know we still have the noises, and I don't complain about them no more, because a lot of times cars are,
Yeah.
the horn
No,
starts
and-
blowing and it keeps going, and that,
And
there's little noises.
and I understand it's an unusual.
And I understand that, but I don't think that anybody, even a dog, won't want to live like that, with having
No,
all
I
that
understand.
paving
And-
and all that smoke. And I really thought it was something wrong with, you know, with one of the pipes or something.
Yeah.
Because I said, who would come this time of the morning to do something like this? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, but this is something that should be coordinated between the police departments. I'll speak to the chief and the lieutenants here tonight, so.
And then when I did call the police department, they did go, you know, but when they were in Montclair, I mean, in Glen Ridge, they went. I mean, they were all very nice to me, and they all know me, and they,
Yeah,
and I try not to call them too much, but, you know, sometimes you have to put it on record just to have it on record.
Oh, no, I understand. But I think our police department was put on the spot that since the activity was in Montclair, they couldn't issue a Glenridge summons, even though it has an impact. And I think the problem, one of the
So why should
situations,
they be able to work in Glen Ridge then?
well, they're working, from my understanding, they were working in Montclair, but the noise was emanating.
That's why I think,
in
like, the
Montclair.
owners of this mall,
Yeah. See, part of our problem too
the
is
owners of
that
this mall should
when
have
you-
that in there.
If this went through the planning board, we restricted the hours in Glen Ridge and even the lighting levels in Glen Ridge. Unfortunately, with the C1 zoning in Montclair, it's 24 hours a day business operation. So we have an area that we have controls over, that we could, for traffic and lighting, that we regulate. But once you get over to the Montclair section of the property, they have the ability to operate 24 hours a day. Hence, you have the 7-Eleven and the traffic and the
Yeah.
deliveries, because it's allowed in Montclair. And this is something we've been wrestling with, talking with Montclair. And I know the police have been looking into this matter beforehand.
Okay, well, this is the first time this really happened.
Yeah.
This is a
Construction
biggie.
activity,
It
Did
really
they
is a
finish the
biggie.
job that night, or is that the only night that they worked?
That they worked in the morning, and they came back in the morning
Okay.
to finish it. But that was in the, you know, but it was, you don't, in the morning, you know, I mean, you can't stay in bed till 12 o'clock, you know what I mean? There's no problem with that, but for them to do that at that time
I
of
agree.
night,
I
Yeah.
totally,
I mean-
we don't disagree with
Yeah.
I mean, that's,
Also,
Does Montclair allow you to do construction 24/7?
they should, it should be a permit activity, so this
Yeah,
is the
that's what I
first time I've
said.
heard of it,
Yeah.
so I have to look
that's
into
something
it.
that's, I mean, that's really
You-
sad.
Generally under the state,
I was in happy camper that day.
basically Montclair, as for construction, I believe Montclair, as Glen Ridge, has adopted the state code, which calls for after 10 p.m. a reduction of noise to 55 decibels unless it's an emergency, and this doesn't sound that it was an emergency
No,
operation.
it wasn't. And
I
obviously,
know at one point, when you were having the noise and
Yeah,
the
well,
odor complaints,
yeah.
I spoke personally to their general manager, and he promised that things were gonna change, and I think they did change.
they changed a
Right.
little, yes, they
Yeah.
did.
But,
But, you know,
This is
it's
still-
there. and-
This
this
may
isn't being
not
a good
be
neighbor,
smash-
they shouldn't be doing that.
And I think this may not be Smashburger, this could even be the landlord, so we'll have to
Right.
look into
Yeah,
it and
yeah,
determine
that's what I
who
said. I think-
contracted the favor.
I would appreciate that very much. They could
Thank you.
possibly
Thank you.
done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would anybody else like to be heard at this time? Seeing none, we'll move on to comments of the mayor. First, I would like to commend and congratulate Chief Lagatuda and her department for a tremendously successful and record-setting National Night Out event last Tuesday at the community pool. I won't say anything more at this time, as I know the commissioner will present a more complete report on this event a little later. Later this evening, after almost 2 years of intensive work, the Glen Ridge Borough Council is at long last going to take a final vote on Ordinance 1644, which will approve the redevelopment of the Mountainside Hospital School and Nursing site. I would like to take this opportunity to recognize and thank all of the people who have contributed so much of their time, talent, effort, and patience to the successful completion of this redevelopment plan, especially Councilwoman Morrow, Michael Rohall, Michael Zacchelli, the Glen Ridge Planning Board, the Glen Ridge Historic Preservation Commission, and former Mayor Peter Hughes. I would also be remiss if I failed to recognize the tremendous contributions of Janice Talley, Montclair's Director of Planning, who was a consummate professional during the redevelopment process, as well as Jessica Giorgiani and Jeff Janota, our H2M consultants. Finally, Once the redevelopment ordinance is passed by both Glen Ridge and Montclair, there are two remaining steps that need to be taken prior to the commencement of the project. First, both Montclair and Glen Ridge's planning boards will have to approve the site plan. And second, both towns will individually have to execute a redevelopment agreement between that town and the developer. Again, Councilwoman Morrow will have more to say on this later. Finally, we look forward to working with Mayor Jackson and the Montclair Council on the redevelopment agreement. And we also look forward to the continued thoughtful participation and input of the surrounding residents who are most directly impacted by this project in the planning board's review of the site plan. That's all I have to say. Peter, give it to you.
Mayor, I have a consent agenda motion to put forth. But before I do, I'd like to just comment a little bit on some of the resolutions included, and then if anyone on the council wants to talk further, we can break them out and vote on them separately. But the bill paying resolution, it's a whopper. We have a $7.268 million worth of checks going out today, Mayor. $2.3 million to the Board of Ed and $2.1 million to Essex County. We also have a resolution dealing with, two resolutions actually, dealing with updating of our employee manual. And Mayor, these changes are to keep us current with the requirements of the various entities, federal and state, and address issues of discrimination, harassment, and civil rights. And what's interesting, Mayor, is that it's going to require updated written procedures and an annual report to the governing body and to yourself, with additional communication required annually to the borough as to how we're doing in these areas. I think it's important. We have a resolution adopting a green purchasing program, the purpose of which is to codify our efforts as we purchase to reduce our carbon footprint throughout the borough. Finally, there's several contracts for some change orders. We're going to award a $2,000 film fund grant to the Community Concert Series, and we will be looking to further develop safe routes to school throughout the borough here. So with that as background, I'd like to offer resolutions 100-16 to 107-16 for a vote as a consent agenda. Mayor, I move the resolution.
Thank you, Peter. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Are there any further discussion on any one of these agenda items? Seeing none, will clerk please call the roll?
Councilperson Hughes.
Aye.
Gusovich.
Aye.
Leftwich. Aye. Dawson.
Aye.
Murphy.
Aye.
Morrow.
Aye.
6 ayes, no nays. Consent agenda is approved.
Mayor, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Peter. Paul?
Yes, Mayor, as you mentioned, the chief certainly deserves praise for the way our National Night Out turned out last week. You and I and Art and, of course, Mike Rohol were there, were able to stop in, and it was truly a rewarding experience. There were about 400 people there, including the contingent from the Montclair Fire Department, of course, our own volunteer ambulance squad, our divert group in town dealing with domestic violence, as well as the Essex County Victim Unit Assistance Group. There to be able to talk to residents about all the things, and not only that each one of these groups do, but also to interact with them, to get them to know each other on a personal basis. So, and it happened to be one of the nicer nights of the summer. So this was a really nice community event. Shout out also should go out to Detective Sergeant Dan Manley, who was instrumental in getting this whole evening and the agenda together, as well as Detective Mike Medico. But I know you were there, and you just get the sense of community. Mike, great job by you too, pulling in. So overall, just a very nice night.
Well, Paul, I thought it was kind of notable that all but 2 of our police officers were in attendance with their families at this National
With their
Night
wives and
Out.
children,
And
yes.
those 2 were either on other assignments or...
Yeah, one was
away.
on assignment and one was on vacation. Other than that, it was 100% turnout of our police force, which is quite a testament to the commitment of the group.
I think it was also a testament testament that they went quickly through 180 hot dogs. I didn't get one.
Nor did I, but of course it was at the pool, so it also gave an opportunity for a lot of non-pool members to be able to use the pool, children to come out and meet our police officers. So on all levels, it was a great success.
And the chief's husband got recruited into making popcorn.
Did you have any comments about the National Night Out?
National Night Out was a wonderful event on behalf of Chief Shell Byron Lagatuda and the Glen Ridge Police Department. Thank you for allowing us to have participated in the event this year. It was really a great success, and we look forward to doing more events like that in the near future.
Great, thank you.
Right, Lieutenant?
They even had nice weather.
Oh, Mr. Mayor, I also have an ordinance for final reading. I have ordinance number 1646, which amends the Title 10 of the Glen Ridge Code by amending the existing provisions of Title 10.35.30, permit parking zone on the Highland Avenue area. This is an ordinance we're amending simply to, because of the adverse way the current ordinance affects one homeowner on Highland, and she had come in and asked it to be corrected, and the proper thing to do.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, this is state for the record that this ordinance has been properly posted and advertised in accordance with the state statute.
I declare the meeting open for discussion of this ordinance, and only this ordinance, this being the time and place for the public hearing. Would anybody like to be heard on this particular ordinance? Seeing none, I close the meeting on this ordinance.
Then, Mr. Mayor, I move that the ordinance finally be passed.
I'll second that.
Thank you. You have heard the motion of Councilperson Vasovich, seconded by Councilman Dawson. Is that Dawson? Will clerk please call the roll?
Councilperson Hughes.
Aye.
Vasovich.
Aye.
Lefkovich.
Aye.
Dawson.
Aye.
Murphy.
Aye.
Morrow.
Aye.
6 ayes, no nays. The ordinance is passed on final reading.
Thank you.
And that's all I have tonight, Mayor.
Thank you, Paul. David?
Mr. Mayor, I have no report this evening.
Thank you. Councilman Dawson?
I have no report this evening, but I have a resolution number 104-16. The Borough of Glen Ridge sought the removal of borough trees and stump grinding. In accordance with NJSA 48.11, the borough used a fair and competitive process to solicit proposals for the aforesaid service. July 19th, 20...
Excuse me, Art, I think that was included in the consent agenda.
Oh.
All right?
Oh, it was, okay, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Yes, yes.
Oh, all right, so it's done.
So,
I'll save you that.
Never mind.
Yeah. You're on.
I guess tonight's meeting, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I just would like to report that the remediation of the chronic water problem at Barrows Field at Carteret Park has been complete. The sod has been laid. The sprinkler system seems to be working non-stop, and with any luck, we'll be able to use that field towards the end of September, I would imagine. Michael, when do you think the sod will take that we can remove the
we're going to
fence?
hold it till after the first week of September.
Okay. And I would ask that folks obey the signs that say, please stay off the grass on that section of the field. And in addition to that, the dog area at Carteret Park has been completed, and we're getting some positive feedback from folks, dog owners who do utilize that section of Carteret with their dogs. And to that end, now that we've got the field fixed, hopefully, and it is an athletic field, we would hope that folks would keep their dogs off of that section of Carteret and utilize instead the dog area, the designated dog area for off-leash, and hope that folks control barking dogs and pick up after the dogs. And that's it for Parks and Rec.
With that, we had that big rain right in the middle of when they were doing the grading on that, and the drainage system coped with it nicely. There was no washing or anything else from all that rain during the time that it was open.
Yeah,
So it really worked.
the soil stayed in place. It didn't.
Yeah.
There was no erosion, and That was a good thing. It was a good test. And then
Yeah.
certainly after the sod was laid, that evening we had a downpour in addition to the sprinkler system. So that added to the water that's needed to make sure that this sod takes. It was an expensive project, and I just want to thank all the folks that were involved, Michael Zucchelli, Michael Burhall, and the Public Works Department worked closely with the folks that we hired to do that work for us. I thought it was done really well.
Fantastic.
No time will tell. That's it for Parks and Rec. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
At this time, we will be reopening the hearing on the Mountainside redevelopment ordinance. Michael, can you give us an update
Sure.
on this since our last meeting?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. As stated before, Montclair has adopted an ordinance approving the final redevelopment plan for the Mountainside School and Nursing property. In the planning board resolution from Glen Ridge dated June 9th, gave a decision to the council on the LEED certification. It states that the board believes that 40 points may be sufficient and that the council should decide whether the plan should be required 40 points or a maximum of 50 points. The final plan adopts language also approved by Montclair that the redeveloper shall achieve 50 LEED silver points, be certified by an expert retained by the township and paid by the redeveloper with or without LEED certification. And then the final one in the resolution, they have referred to any removal of trees to be approved by the Glen Ridge Borough Arborist. The plan has been revised that the respective arborists from each borough municipality shall approve any tree removal in that particular municipality. And that's the only changes to the plan that was recommended by the planning board.
Thank you, Michael. Anne Marie?
I guess do we have any public comment? Do we open this up to
You want to start
comment, or
that?
do we just move right on to the adoption?
If we don't have any other comment, we could close the hearing.
Okay, all right, then we'll go to the hearing. So you have ordinance what?
Yes, I have ordinance number 1644 for second reading and adoption.
That's correct.
Oh, okay. We've already done that. Is there anybody that would like to be heard on this ordinance at this time? Seeing none, I'll close the hearing.
Ordinance number 1644, an ordinance of the Borough of Glen Ridge adopting a redevelopment plan for the HUMC Mountainside Hospital redevelopment plan. Now therefore be it ordained by the Borough Council of the Borough of Glen Ridge, County of Essex, and State of New Jersey as follows. The redevelopment plan is filed in the office of the Borough Clerk and attached hereto is Exhibit B, and that plan is on file on our Borough website. It is the plan that was previously distributed with the changes that Michael Rohal just reviewed. That plan is approved with the modifications referenced in the Planning Board resolution, with the revision that the redeveloper shall achieve 50 LEED silver points to be certified by an expert retained by the borough and the township of Montclair and paid by the redeveloper without LEED certification being required. And that is, as Michael mentioned, it's Exhibit C, new Exhibit C to the plan. It's the LEED checklist. Do I need to continue reading?
No, that's fine. This would have to offer it.
Sorry.
It just needs to be offered.
Yes, so I offer resolution, or I'm sorry, ordinance number 1644 for adoption, for vote.
Can I hear a second?
I'll second.
And again, I guess I would just like to echo Mayor's comments that it was a very thoughtful endeavor over many months with contributions of residents of both towns, by representatives of the hospital, by neighbors, and I think the end result shows a very deliberate and thoughtful effort. And many thanks to you.
Thank you, Councilor.
And Mayor, thanks to Councilperson Morrow for all the effort that she's put in. And to all the members of the planning board who really have worked diligently to get this worked out. And it's just it's a great development, I think. It's fine. And one we've been waiting for a long time, and finally I think we're ready to move forward.
that's going to be a real enhancement to the community.
I think. Okay, you have heard the motion of Councilperson Morrow, seconded by Councilman Hughes. Hughes, sorry.
Both.
Will clerk please call the roll and include the mayor?
Councilperson Hughes.
Aye.
Rusovich.
Aye.
Lefkowitz.
Aye.
Dawson.
Aye.
Murphy.
Aye.
Morrow.
Aye.
And then Mayor Patrick.
Aye.
7 ayes, no nays. The ordinance is passed on final reading.
Thank you.
The ordinance will now be published, and there's a 20-day estoppel period for any objections, and at that point, it will become final adopted plan. And as Mr. Roholland, Mayor mentioned, the next steps will then be site plan application and approval process by the planning board, and councilors will work on the redevelopment agreement. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Are there any comments from the administrator?
Just one, I'd like to echo the compliment Councilperson Hughes gave to Councilperson Morrow, who worked tirelessly through this whole process. And also, once again, recognize Janice Towers. She did a great job helping us work it through the two municipalities. And then finally, I do have one other note. We had suspended all work on our DOT-funded project, and we're just waiting. Hopefully this week gets resolved so we could continue work on Douglas, Washington, and start also the second project, which is Herman, Edgewood, and Cambridge Road. And that is my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. John?
I have no report, Mayor.
John?
I have no report, Mayor.
Okay. Is there any new and unfinished business?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, this is time for comments from the public. Anybody want to be heard? Seeing none, we'll move on. Peter, you have a motion for us?
Mayor, I move we adjourn the meeting.
All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourn again.